Hi, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Two-Face Wrestling Talk. I'm Kelsi, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Paul.
So sad that we're not doing this from Tampa.
I know. We were supposed to be there.
Yep.
I
told you. I knew you were going to knock it.
Oh, geez.
30 seconds in the stream, and my drink almost takes a tumble.
Which would be bad, because there's all kinds of electricity.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
No, disappointing, obviously, but, there's their perspective, I think, is the best way to put it. And, we still got WrestleMania, but we need people to be safe. And so,
yeah, I mean, wrestlers are risking a lot to even put on these shows.
Yep.
So props to them, because it is a scary time and a weird time. And speaking of weird, the shows were weird, but I honestly think, before we get into analyzing everything, I really think that the WrestleMania shows did what they could, what they had. So I think it was pretty decent considering the circumstances, you know?
Yep. Making the best of a bad situation is what I've told people. They, it wasn't perfect by any means. It was, hard to watch sometimes with no crowd interaction, but at the same time, I thought it was pretty well done. I think, they had some cool matches. They did some things that they couldn't have done. In a regular stadium. You're just determined to knock this drink over.
Gosh. I'm going to not knock it over. It's fine.
I'm going to have to hold it the whole time now. I thought, all things considered, I thought it was a pretty good 2 nights of action. I didn't have a whole lot to complain about.
Well, let's grade them, though.
Okay.
But before we go into the grades, I do want to thank everyone tuning in to watch right now. We really appreciate you guys. We've got Nails in the chat right now. Nails in the chat right now, and Good Guy Dave. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you so much. And yes, Nails said she missed my videos. I have not been doing any content. The virus, man. I've been at home.
Yeah, which means you have more time.
Yes, but I've been stressed with work, work.
Let's put it this way. I've tried to push her to release content, and
the next serial video is ready to go.
And the magnets, more magnets.
And the first kids video, because it's going to be a series now, I've decided, with help from my associate producers off of my Twitter, I've decided it's going to be a big, long series that could last until eternity, essentially.
But that would require you to actually do it and have the first one. So
whatever. Well, thanks for sticking with me, Nails.
We'll believe it when we see it.
But anyway, so yeah, I haven't been doing very much, but I'm going to try to amp it up a little bit very soon. This week.
There's going to be a video this week.
We'll see. I hope so. I hope I can do what I say I'm going to do. Yeah, but let's go into the grades of the WrestleMania shows. So night 1, I give it a B-.
I think I said initially a B or a B-. I've seen lower grades, and I don't know. I think a B minus is a fair area to go.
I think it's a fair grade because there were some kind of short matches, some random matches with no story, but then some A+ matches that evened out the grade overall. Like, we'll get to it in a little while, but the Boneyard match was my favorite thing of the entire weekend. So of night 1, I think the Boneyard match really stuck out. I think, of course, Seth Rollins and KO stuck out a lot for night 1. So those 2 matches in particular really rose the grade for me. And everything else wasn't bad. It just was kind of like there.
I mean, it was a little ridiculous that the 2 championship matches, the McIntyre versus Brock and the Goldberg versus Strowman, I think combined they may have made 10 minutes. I don't know.
Probably not even that.
So that part was disappointing. And then on the flip side, they let some other matches really breathe, which I thought was cool too. So overall, for both nights, I was fairly pleased. I didn't find myself bored. And here's the other thing, and we'll talk more about this too. I think this was a little bit of a test to see if a 2-night WrestleMania works.
It worked in this context.
In my mind, it works. But it's much better than the 8-hour extravaganza we endured in New York last year.
Yeah, we were there in New York, and it just went so long. Everyone was tired by the time the main event came around, and by that point you're supposed to be excited. The building's supposed to be filled. It's supposed to be a big reaction, especially for the first women's main event, and yet a lot of the building had cleared out. We stuck around. However, we paid the price because it took us hours to get out of there.
Well, we saw it on that documentary where Becky Lynch said that her title defense started, or that main event started after midnight local time. that
She said WrestleMania was April 7th. Our main event was April 8th
Yeah.
because it went on after midnight, New York time.
There we go. Nails combined 6.5 minutes for both championship matches. Goldberg Braun was 2-something, and Drew Brock was 4-something.
Oh
So,
man, that's insane.
No. So
That's
I mean,
crazy.
That to me, that was the biggest negative of WrestleMania. That your 2 championship, and then just mentioned Becky. The Becky Shayna match was only 8
that
minutes.
was to me the biggest disappointment because I was so looking forward to Shayna having such a good outing. She's been so dominant. She's really one of the best heels in all of WWE, man or woman. And I said this on the radio today when we did our little, spot about WrestleMania on New Orleans radio. And what happens, it's just like an 8-minute match.
Yeah.
To me, it could have been so much more. I mean, I'm not happy with the result, but if you were going to go with that same result, at least make it a little bit longer. Let Shayna kind of have a little bit better of a showing overall. And then I would have been a little less apt to complain about the result because I didn't like that result. I wanted Shayna to be the one to dethrone her. But now I'm thinking maybe Bianca eventually can be the one.
Yeah, or Nia Jax. We saw tonight
Nia Jax
on Raw,
would make sense because they've got unresolved.
Yep.
So
that, which that was one of the few surprises, if you could call it that, for the night after WrestleMania.
I don't know if you could call it a surprise when they literally announced it before the commercial break, when they could have just easily came back from commercial
and
just
have
had
her music hit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It was so dumb.
Like, we'll talk about Edge's documentary, but that's one of the things in Edge's documentary he said was there's like never any surprises anymore. They always announce what is coming next. And it could be a really big shock, but they just let it leak out.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's, before we go into specifics of everything, let's also grade overall night 2. So I'm going to keep my same grade and give it a B-. Again, though, there were A+ parts of the night. I think that Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair was a great match and a great part of the night.
Yep.
I also really think I like the Firefly Funhouse. We know some people, mainly our friend Trace, said it was trash. Whatevs. There was a lot of good parts to night 2, I think.
Yeah, I thought there were a couple really, really great matches on night 2. I think overall night 2 might have been more consistent. I don't know. I
thought
think
there was better matches.
Yeah, but
maybe not.
but
I don't know.
Night 1
had some
between the
good ones
Boneyard and Rollins and KO.
And we forgot to mention the ladder match on night 1.
Right,
was
which
good
was
too.
really good.
Yeah.
So I think
but
both,
night 2 had the last man standing too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And we'll read Dave's comment in a second, but finish up your thought.
No, I think you'd say both nights were B-. I mean, I think it's hard for me to say one night was decidedly better than the other.
Right. Each had its strength. And like I said, yes, B-, but it had A parts as well.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize that because we're not trying to say, oh, it was so bad.
No,
it's just like
B- is fine.
It's
nothing wrong
fine,
with B.
especially when you have no crowd
Yeah.
or anything. So I think that's a fair grade. And this is a great comment by Dave. He says the Edge match was 36 minutes long, but it worked. Isn't it great that WWE put on such a long match that told a story and gave them time? I like that comment, Dave, because there are people online complaining about the length of the match, saying it dragged. It would have been better had it been 15 minutes. It's like we never get long matches in WWE, although we did get another one on Raw tonight with Apollo Crews and Black. That was long. But let's go back to the Edge match. You talk about everyone being excited that Edge returns. No one expected him to come back after 9 years gone. And so in my mind, I'm thinking that justifies a long match. He's worked so hard to get back. His dreams are coming back into the forefront. So to me, it fits with the story of his return to give him a really, really long match. And the story was so well done and well told leading into that match. I think it warranted a very lengthy contest. So to me, I think it made sense. It matched with what they were doing. And I'm really upset that so many people are complaining how long it was. I didn't think it was boring. Yeah, they brawled a lot and did a lot of punches. I guess that's what people are complaining about. But I never thought, oh, they're just punching each other. I just kind of got lost in it. And this is Edge's return match to WrestleMania.
No, you spent the better part of the last 10 minutes worried they were going to fall off the top of the semi.
That was scary. Stay away from the Edge. Jesus, no pun intended.
No, this was a perfect match for this WrestleMania because you could use the whole building and you're not alienating the crowd, because it's not in the middle of the ring. There's no crowd, you could go everywhere. And so that's why the length of it, I had no problem with. Everything they did, I had no problem with. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was a great match and a great return for Edge. The only downside is you feel bad for Edge that he couldn't get the big WrestleMania pop.
Because he would have gotten a huge pop.
For coming out and when he won.
But at least he did get that pop when he came out for the Royal Rumble, and that was a true surprise. But I'm sure the WrestleMania pop would have kind of not have been as equal, but maybe very close to it. But kind of going off of what you said, this was an interesting WrestleMania. There was parts of it I didn't like. A lot of echoey, like between the commentators and the trash talk. I know you didn't mind it, but I just can't stand all of that talking all at the same time. It just, without crowd noise in the background, there was nothing else I could, the crowd noise helps filter it out for me. I was really distracted when I kept hearing commentary, but then the trash talk, and I'm like, my ears are almost like battling, what do you hear? So that part wasn't my favorite, but what was really cool that you alluded to was they would have never been able to do the last man standing match the way they did it. The people would have been mad if they had gone backstage out of sight for so long.
Right.
They would have never been able to do the Firefly Funhouse the way they did it, or the Boneyard match, because people would be like, hey, we paid for this match. We want to see it in person, not a video package. You had that problem with House of Horrors many years ago with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt.
Right.
They threw to that video package, and yes, they came tumbling into the arena at the end, but it didn't quite work. This was the perfect time, and I think the cinematic matches really worked, especially the Boneyard match. I almost wish that closed out the whole weekend.
I do too.
And it would have been last, but it was a great way, at least, to close out night one.
Yeah, I thought so as well. Welcome, Primetime. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for joining us on this chat. And I know that you were bothered by the trash talking and the announcers, and I get that. There were times where the announcers were, and you saw it tonight too on Raw, where they just kind of shut up and let the talking in the ring kind of play it out too.
I like when they did that better, because then my ears are not battling like what to listen to. I'm not getting overwhelmed with too much stimulation, It's just too much sometimes. But yeah, Nails said exactly what we said. Boneyard match and Funhouse match would have not been that way had there been an audience there. So it's one positive take to this crazy, weird situation we were in and that WrestleMania was in that we had those matches, because I think Boneyard match will be something that people remember for decades to come. And I gotta circle back though. There's some people who aren't aware of some history of other companies, and they might not know that a similar style of match has already taken place years ago. So we got to give props to the vision of Matt Hardy, Rebby Hardy, his wife, who was a big part of the Final Deletion. And I'm not talking about the Ultimate Deletion, which is WWE's,
which was good as well.
It was good, but it wasn't the same as the TNA original version. When Matt Hardy was still with TNA, they did this whole production, very similar in style to the Boneyard match, very cinematic. People are also comparing it to the season 1 of Lucha Underground, which also had cinematic matches. But I really think Final Deletion paved the way, and we got to pay that respect, because I think without that, we wouldn't have gotten the Boneyard match.
Yep.
Because, I remember when it first came out, it was my favorite thing in wrestling, still one of my favorite things. The whole wrestling world was talking about it. Wrestlers were watching it in the locker room of different companies, not just TNA. Wrestlers from all around the world and different companies were talking about how great it was. So, and Matt Hardy was even tweeting about it.
Yep.
So.
I agree, Dave. I did love how the wrestlers were actively trying to make as much noise as possible at times, because I thought it did fill in a little. Asuka has been great since they've been doing any of these shows with no fans. She's done a great job. Kevin Owens is just so naturally funny trash talking. So
she is.
It worked whether it's Owens, whether it's Asuka,
Yeah.
I did like some of that. Now sometimes it was over the top with them, trying to trash talk and fill in.
I do want to highlight this comment. Primetime says also respect to Jeremy Borash as well, because he also worked on the Final Deletion, I believe, and now I think he works in WWE now. So yeah, a lot of people who worked on the Final Deletion are now working in WWE. People who were very instrumental in the creation of Final Deletion. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about the Final Deletion, that happened in 2016. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type in the Final Deletion. You can find the whole thing on TNA's now Impact, their YouTube channel. It's all there for free. Just watch the whole thing. It's 17 minutes long. And again, it's very similar in style. And there's like a lot of artsiness to it. There's music to it. I think that the big difference is there were some funny moments in the Boneyard match, but Final Deletion was a lot more comedic and campy.
Yeah.
Way more campy, but on purpose. So, and I'll even say what Matt Hardy said about it. He said, with cinematic wrestling being the talk of the town this weekend, it makes me that much prouder of the Final Deletion, which happened almost 4 years ago. I'm grateful for the time I spent in Impact Wrestling. And he also said something that was today. He said that. And then the night of WrestleMania, he said something too. Did I even save it? I think he said something like, thanks for all the love everyone's sending me.
Well, yeah, Nails said he tweeted that it's the most he's been put over as a singles wrestler at any Mania, and he wasn't even there.
That's very true.
I
mean, he was put over as a tag team guy,
right,
but not singles.
But not singles, no.
Exactly.
I agree with you that it should have ended the show for the whole thing because it was so well done and it was just funny, and I mean everything about it was great.
Also, you and I discussed, man, that should have been Taker's last match, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it really will be, but if he decided, hey, I want to hang up my boots, I feel like that would be the perfect send-off because he keeps chasing this perfect match, and I think he keeps getting disappointed. And I only say that, I'm not trying to read his thoughts, but they kind of indicated that in that commercial, that first look of the Undertaker documentary, how he kept saying, like, I wasn't happy with that match, I wasn't at my best. But this match, I feel like, it hid all of his weaknesses, his slowness, and it also highlighted his strengths, and it let him talk more than he usually talks too, because he was the biker character.
Right.
So I just think it was so cool, and you were excited about the music he came out to. Talk about that.
Yep, came out to Metallica's "Now That We're Dead" on the bike. That was pretty cool as well. Yeah. Dave asked the question. I also want to circle to a different Dave question as well. Do you think cinematic matches are the future of wrestling? And he also brought up a point to you earlier today about
what makes a match a match. Is
it a match or yeah? And we actually, I credited you, Dave, on the radio saying you had asked the question today. I look at the Bray Wyatt John Cena. That to me is almost like a dream sequence or something. That wasn't to me any sort of a match. AJ versus Undertaker, because there was physicality. Yes, it was cinematic, but to me that was a match. And to answer your question here, I hope that they don't go overboard on the cinematic stuff, but I wouldn't mind seeing one, once every few months, something like this. That'd be fine.
In terms of it being the future, I don't think so, but I think it's something that they could utilize more going forward, but they have to be careful, just as you said, not to overdo it. Don't do it too many times. But in terms of, I think WWE has kind of dipped their toe into this water because after they got Matt Hardy, well, actually, even further back. So when Matt Hardy did the Final Deletion, WWE had their own response like a week later. And it's no coincidence. They definitely were trying to kind of bank off of the success of the Final Deletion with their own version. So they did something with the Wyatt family and the New Day. It was filmed on location somewhere. It had a grainy effect. I just think it didn't work. It was like it was trying to be Final Deletion 2.0, and it just didn't work. Then they did another thing with Randy Orton, like I said, and Bray Wyatt, the House of Horrors. That didn't really work. The closest thing they got to something like the Final Deletion working was with Matt Hardy when he came to WWE and he was Woken Matt, and they did the Ultimate Deletion, which is kind of just a spoof and parody of Final Deletion. Not a spoof, but like it was just like that, but a little bit changed up.
Right.
Same premise.
Right.
And same characters even. So to me, it's like this is the first time they've done something that's in that vein, but has been way more. I feel like they put their own creative spin on it too.
Yeah.
And it stood on their own.
Primetime brought up a point that we also had talked about. This was the Boneyard match was perfect in that we've seen the Undertaker wrestle recently, the last few years, and it's been kind of painful to watch, right?
Yeah.
And he said, that these make it easier on the older guys who can't move in the ring, these cinematic matches. And we said, that if this is Undertaker's last match, which I would be fine with it if it was, that was the way to do it because it made him look great.
It did.
He looked awesome, and you don't see him moving slowly like we've seen in that match against Goldberg or even in the last couple WrestleManias. I
mean, you could argue they could do another cinematic match and it could be in his official send-off. I just don't think in terms of, the first one, no one was expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, yeah, they're going to do a video roll, and I didn't think that it would steal the show. I didn't think it'd be as good as it was. Plus, you have a great opponent in AJ Styles.
Mhm.
To me, it's like you could do it again, but I don't know if it could live up to the expectations, because there were really no expectations for this first one. So you go again, it's kind of like rolling the dice. However, you mentioned maybe something with Sting, because you wouldn't have to take bumps per se, maybe. Maybe that could work, and they could finally have that dream match.
Yeah, I mean, if you go along those routes, you certainly could do some cinematic stuff for some things that people have clamored for years. Sting versus Undertaker, Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan. People have always said, they want to see that match at some point.
Right.
So I guess that does open things up. But to circle back to what we said, not every WrestleMania is going to be like this with no fans.
People would be upset if they had that rolled in and they couldn't see it. But then again, would they be more upset that it was rolled in? Or would they be more upset if they never got it at all?
Yeah.
That's the question. That's the big question. Would they realize, hey, this is the only way I could see this?
Well,
and then appreciate it and be okay with it?
Yeah, I almost think it would have to be at a regular show.
Or a network special.
Right.
Just on TV.
Right.
Not played during a show, perhaps. I think this is a good point. Funhouse match, Nails is saying, just like you referenced, it really wasn't a match. They just did Bray Wyatt's finishers. I mean, they don't call it the Final Deletion match, do they? I know that had more wrestling, but it was more of a piece. That's true. It's more of a video package roll-in. But the Final Deletion had a ring in it. Just like, Boneyard match didn't have a ring at all even, but it had brawling. It had fighting. Final Deletion had an actual match set up set up outside. But yeah, I wouldn't call, like Nails is saying, I wouldn't call it the Funhouse match a match. Just a video package.
I agree.
But it was well done, though. I liked it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to read what a wrestler said. And actually, Nails tweeted something that explained it well. Nails retweeted Wrestling Days, at Wrestling Days. If you ever have regrets in life, then just take a second to remember John Cena originally announced he wouldn't be competing at WWE WrestleMania 36. Instead, he was forced to act out his anxieties and biggest fears as his legacy was embarrassed and erased in some crazy other realm. I like that because it kind of summarizes it. It's like it was another realm. It was like a dream / psychological realm that he was literally, you can't see him anymore. He's gone. He's disappeared. Right. And I think that kind of explains it really well. Also, at IMJ Walker had a great thread. Go look at his Twitter. He explains the whole match and, all the references in the match, which were really cool. I like the you can look, but you can't touch, the Nikki Bella reference that Bray kind of said really quickly to John Cena. There was all kinds of other stuff,
the
too.
Vince McMahon puppet, of course.
Good shit, pal. Yeah. From the Moxley interview. Really great stuff.
Yeah. Should we talk about some of the other matches?
Sure.
The match I was looking forward to the most, or the two, were obviously Edge and Orton, but I love Kevin Owens. And so Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, I thought was fantastic. You get your WrestleMania moment of KO going off the top of the sign, which was awesome. KO was awesome with his trash talking throughout.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that match. I mean, that's why I can't really decide which night was better, because that you had that and the Boneyard match, but then there were other matches the next night that were better. So
like you said, I really loved KO. I was kind of trashing on the trash talk, but I liked the trash talk in that match.
Oh.
But you're right. Night one had some really strong points, too. So it is kind of hard to just pick one night over the other.
Yeah, I mean,
I think both had its merits.
You mentioned the ladder match, which, was an improvisation.
Yeah.
What do you keep?
There's a hair. It's bothering me. Just keep going.
That tag team ladder match that became an improvisation of three singles guys, I thought was awesome between Morrison, Uso, and Kofi. My only complaint about that, and we talk about it all the time in ladder matches, the slow climb by Morrison, waiting for somebody to get into position. I hate that in ladder matches. I wish there was a way to hide that better, because that's the worst part of ladder matches.
The one that did it perfect was that Bucks Hardys match at Supercard of Honor.
Right.
That one, we even said how little of awkward pauses it had.
Right.
Because that's something I can't stand about ladder matches. Just like our friend Trace, who's a kind of a more casual fan, he's like, what's the deal with them going slow-mo when they go near the top of the ladder? He's a lot more casual. So he asks a lot of questions about why they do things the way they do things in wrestling. So one of the things he asks is like, why are they going slow at the top of the ladder? I was like, well,
yeah,
going, it's awkward.
There's got to be a way around that. whether it's how it's shot or whatever, because that is the one thing that takes away from a ladder match.
Or them just timing it better together.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so Kofi maybe shouldn't run up so fast. And then slow down right when he's 2 steps away.
Right.
Go slower up the top. But in some other ladder matches, that's obvious too.
What?
So it's very hard to make it believable.
I mean, Morrison tried to sell it by like, oh, my shoulder hurts. And,
Yeah.
But it just was, that was my only downside to the match. Otherwise, I thought that match was spectacular. And
how about Morrison's crazy moves? Like where you flipped off the turnbuckle onto the ladder. That was insane.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a great return to WrestleMania for Morrison. I thought he had to have been thrilled with the way that came off.
Some people were glad Miz wasn't in it because he kind of got to shine more. Morrison got to shine on his own.
I get that. What else? Well, we talked about it earlier. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. That match I wrote down because that seemed to get a lot of time.
It did, and it opened the night, and you were glad it opened the night.
22 minutes. Good physicality, good trash talking in that one as well.
Yeah, I liked that. Charlotte's amazing at trash talking. Let's talk about Charlotte for a minute.
Sure. I'm fine with that. There are a lot of people, and some of them are friends of ours.
Yes.
That bash Charlotte, and I don't get it at all. Charlotte's, if she's not the best female performer in WWE and one of the best, period, I mean, she's easily top 2, 3 in the women and probably top 6 or 7.
She's like top
overall.
She is the top. I really don't even know who I put over her.
So I don't get this criticism of her. I've seen comparisons that it's like getting forced with Roman Reigns. They're two different. It's apples and oranges.
One, if you compare the mic skills between Roman and Charlotte, it's like just doesn't make sense to compare the two. Like Charlotte on the mic, it never feels scripted. Never, ever. I'm never thinking, she's just reading something from memorization. She just comes off as so believable. And the thing that even makes that more apparent is when the crowd starts chanting stuff at her and she interacts just off the top of her head, off the cuff, with the audience kind of bashing them. She's such a great heel. I just love her so much. I just can't believe people are saying, oh, she's so boring. They throw her down our throats. Yeah, I know she's had a lot of title wins. And so I'm not even sure I really wanted her to beat Rhea.
Well, that was a question. Because Rhea hasn't had the belt that long. That was the one downside of that. And I don't know. I said it to you tonight. I don't know if what we saw on Raw with Bianca Belair now on Raw, if it's almost like a trade where Charlotte's going to stay on NXT for a little while and Bianca will be on Raw. I don't know. But I wherever Charlotte is, anytime she's on, I'm interested.
Me too.
I'm never like, oh, God, Charlotte. Whereas with Roman, I mean, I don't dislike him as much as you do.
Yeah,
but
I don't really like him.
Most fans are like, oh, Roman or whatever. I just don't feel that way about Charlotte. I'm excited when Charlotte's in the ring.
Because she's engaging. She's really like just charismatic. And that's something I think in wrestling you can't define. Someone either has charisma or they don't. It's a really hard thing to pinpoint what makes someone charismatic and the next person not. But she has the it factor, I think, whatever that is. But she's really entertaining. I just can't believe some people don't see it and they just bash her and they're so mad at her. And like Nail said, like people were surprised that Charlotte won, but at the same time, it's not like she squashed Rhea.
Right.
It was a long match. It was really well done. I'm not saying that was the right choice because I kind of wanted Rhea to win. And it would have been big for her to beat Charlotte, really big. But at the same time, I'm not that upset because Charlotte has so many accolades. It's not like, again, like Nails is saying, it's not like she just got squashed by a nobody. Right. She didn't get squashed, period, because it was a nice, good, long match, and she really held her own with Charlotte, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Felt bad for Rhea, though. They had all the vignettes of her doing the interview, sitting on the midfield of the stadium.
I felt bad for her.
So for her, for Drew, and for Edge were the three most for me. Like, oh, that really
Braun. Who cares?
Yeah. No, Braun.
Because that was out of nowhere, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was such an. I mean,
that was weird.
And that's the funny thing about this WrestleMania too is there's been so much improvisation. Braun didn't even look like he was going to be on the card. I'm guessing if they had an Andre the Giant Battle Royal, he would have been in that. But he wasn't even on the card, and he ends up winning the championship.
It is a little odd.
So I was mixed. Like, should Goldberg actually just hold on to this here? I didn't.
It's not like he would have to wrestle that much between now and whenever they do another big pay-per-view, unless they're just going to continue doing shows like this.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Well, it's going to be a while. And then the improvisation, like the Raw Tag Team Championships, where it was the Street Profits. First, it was supposed to be Garza and Andrade, and all of a sudden Austin Theory, who like 2 months ago was just starting to get a little bit of a push on NXT, and suddenly he's in WrestleMania.
See, the thing is, like, Austin Theory, it's not like I dislike him, but I was not invested in that match at all because it was so random.
Right.
It had been changed so much. I was like, whatever. What really saved it was Bianca being involved.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. Let's fast forward to Raw. That was a little strange that they do like a rematch of sorts. I hate that. That's a pet peeve of mine. I know it's a pet peeve of yours.
Yeah, but at least they saved it by
making it a 3-on-3.
Yeah, well, they made it a Bianca versus Selena. Then they made it a 3-on-3. So, but again, that was one too. In a normal year, would Bianca Belair have even come out last night? She would have probably been a surprise tonight.
Yeah, I think that's
and the crowd would have probably lost their minds. And so that's one of those weird ones where, if it was a normal WrestleMania, they probably wouldn't have put her on the show last night running in and getting involved.
No, they just would have waited for a big surprise probably. And like, that's a bummer thing is Raw after WrestleMania is supposed to be the best Raw of the year. And like, so the one we saw tonight, it wasn't bad, but like the WrestleMania weekend, I felt good. It was like, yeah, they did what they could do. And those video packages were awesome. They put a lot of work into those. I mean, the Boneyard match apparently took 8 hours to film, 5 days to set up the set. So all that stuff's really cool. But then you get to the Raw after WrestleMania, which is traditionally one of the best Raws of the year. And you're like,
well, it was
kind of let down a little.
Well, it was a weird Raw because there were so many guys that were just thrown onto the show that basically just happened to be at the performance center. So, so that you've got NXT guys that were on the show that I've never even heard of.
I forgot his name.
The guy that went against Seth Rollins, I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
And the guy that went against Humberto Carrillo, I only knew his name because he had been on NXT like the week before or something. So that stuff was weird. The funniest, you were talking about the matches. I actually thought I don't think there's any debate on this. The Aleister Black Apollo Crews match tonight, which got like 40 minutes or something.
28, I thought.
28, yeah.
Maybe longer.
Yeah, it was somewhere near a half hour. It was a good long match. For Aleister Black, that match was much better than his WrestleMania match against Bobby Lashley.
Well, yeah, I mean, Apollo Crews has crazy agility, but he's never used. So, like, already I was thinking, it's going to be a squash when he came out because we haven't seen him a lot.
Right.
I was really surprised they let it go that long, and it really was a good match.
It was.
So that was a very surprising thing. But again, would you consider that a Raw after WrestleMania type of match?
I mean, they tried to sell it that Apollo Crews was this big coup.
And they were going to lose him as a draft
leftover draft picks.
Very weird stuff.
Was a weird explanation. But yeah, I mean, it did lend for more wrestling, as Dave just said, on this Raw.
That was nice, more wrestling.
Yeah, but some of the wrestling, again, it was like people, you had no idea who they were.
In fact, on Twitter, Dave said that this might be the most wrestling they've had since they've been doing these empty arena shows. A lot of it's been like promos in the ring leading up to WrestleMania and like 1 or 2 matches. Everything else was either something they threw in an old thing. Tonight, this night's Raw it had a lot of wrestling, like Dave said.
I know you wanted to talk a little bit about how you love the Otis Dolph Ziggler storyline.
Oh yeah, I think that was really great. That's another thing. So you mentioned a few people you were sorry for that they didn't get the reaction. That Otis fairy tale ending, that would have gotten a huge reaction at WrestleMania had there been a crowd. So I feel a little bit bad for him because the story was told so well. It was going on for a long time. They were setting that up for so long. And then like no reaction, no payoff in person. But at home, people were excited, know. And I was excited too. I really was happy that he won. I just love his like random words. I
have said this. I thought going into this match, because I thought, and I got to admit, I had not seen SmackDown the night before, so I didn't know the whole storyline of this video had been released or whatever. But I thought going into this WrestleMania, it was going to be similar if Mandy had been in the corner with Dolph of back in the 80s when George the Animal Steel took on Macho Man Savage and Otis babbles weird stuff just like George the Animal Steel used to. To me, Otis was our modern day George the Animal Steel.
And then Steel kind of won over Miss Elizabeth in that match you're
Right,
referencing.
right.
Yeah.
So
it could have been similar to where Otis wins over Mandy, but it happened a little bit different with somebody who we don't even know who it is revealing that, they were tricked.
Yeah, so we'll see who that surprise person is.
Will they ever reveal it though, or will it just be not talked about?
I don't
anymore?
know. I don't
that
know.
might not even.
I mean,
be
people
referenced.
think that those little glitches were Killer Cross, but I think
now Killer Cross is those NXT things.
Right,
Now clearly
exactly.
you can see his face.
So I don't know who this person is that released the video, but that'll be interesting to see down the road.
Dave says Otis got the girl. Romance isn't dead. Yeah.
I know you wanted to talk too about Sami Zayn.
Yeah. So we were on the radio today, but also on Friday. So Friday we were giving our predictions to our friend Gus on ESPN NOLA, and he said, "What match do you think maybe could steal the show?" And I said, if they gave it the right amount of time, I thought Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan could steal the show in terms of wrestling quality. But the thing with Sami Zayn is, as a heel, I love him on the mic. And I loved all the trash talk in the ring. That was really funny during WrestleMania. But I still wasn't happy or satisfied with the wrestling quality. It wasn't like the Nakamura Sami Zayn match from NXT TakeOver. And that's the Sami quality of match I keep looking for.
Right.
Or Sami, when he even dislocated his shoulder and pushed through when he went to answer John Cena's open challenge, I think it was, when he hurt his shoulder. That was even a good match. He had good matches against a lot of people. In fact, when he was on the roster for a little while, on the main roster, they would make a lot of people's call-up people's debut against him because he was that good. He could make anybody look good. Of course, he would lose they would let the call-up win. But Sami would, undoubtedly deliver a great match. The thing here is, it's just, as the heel, they don't give him a lot of time to deliver these great matches anymore. And yeah, it's cool that he's a belt, and it's great that he retained, which is a big deal, especially against Daniel Bryan. But at the same time, I'm waiting for that really high-quality wrestling match that I know Sami can do and has done in the past.
Zach Barber, thanks for joining us. He says Sami is a treasure. The match wasn't designed to be a 5-star classic, but it was hella entertaining.
It was entertaining, like I said. I'm waiting for that classic.
Yeah.
Even though I know it wasn't supposed to be that, eventually I do want to see Sami with a belt having those 5-star classics because he's one of the best wrestlers on the roster, and a lot of people forget about him sometimes. And he definitely is a treasure, Zach. That is for sure true.
Primetime weighing in on Sami as well says he just hasn't been the same to me. Maybe it's just like Shinsuke as well. I feel like he's fell hard because nobody really cares anymore, and that there is a sense of that too.
I mean, Sami didn't even wrestle for so long,
right?
Just a talking head, but a good talking head. He's great on the mic, and Nakamura hasn't had a great match in forever. I mean, I really thought Nakamura was at his highest point when he debuted against Sami again. It's like that was one of their best matches for the both of them. Nakamura just hasn't been the same Nakamura from New Japan Pro Wrestling in WWE. I'm not trying to bash the whole company. I'm just saying it's not the same.
Right. Nails was saying she was dancing when Sami's music hit.
I know.
I did comment.
Funny.
His music hitting is so weird to not hear the crowd singing it, though.
Yeah.
Of all the entrances, his might be the weirdest because the crowd, you're so used to hearing the crowd singing. Seth Rollins, too, because you're used
Burn
to...
it down.
Yeah, used to hearing everybody yell, burn it down. But Sami's music just kind of sounded hollow without people singing along.
Makes me feel good, though, that people in the chat do love Sami so much. Nail is saying how much she loves Sami, like Zach just did, too. Sami's awesome.
Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship. And we hope that maybe this was going to be where we got the Bayley Sasha turn.
I think it's still coming. I think this is the setup. But it's been such a slow setup for years now. When's it going to happen?
It's got to happen. I mean, build towards SummerSlam or something, but Bayley and Sasha has to happen. I really thought
on the main roster.
Yeah. I mean, because it was so good at TakeOver. And so at some point, and it feels like we've been saying this for 2 years.
Yeah, but what if our expectations are so high that the match they eventually have will never live up to what we think?
That's probably the case.
It probably is the case. Everyone wanted to see AJ Styles and Nakamura in WWE, and when it happened multiple times, didn't it happen multiple times?
Yeah,
I didn't like it. any of the times as much as
I liked it
New
a couple
Japan.
times, but I remember the one at WrestleMania in particular was not that great.
Oh, no. Like I'm saying, like, you build this up in your mind, like, this is going to be amazing, and then it falls short. So hopefully that's not the case with Sasha and Bayley, but I bet you it will be. But still be cool to finally get to that point that we've been waiting for.
Zach Barber channeling his inner Corey Graves. Sasha looked like a punk helping Bayley after Bayley did nothing to save her from elimination.
That's true. That was a little weird.
I was hoping during that match they would have had a little conference in, since Corey couldn't be there.
A Zoom.
A little thing of him in the corner talking about how, get ready, Sasha's going to stab her in the back. That's what she does. She's a horrible person.
Yeah, that would have been funny. That would have been great use of Corey. But yeah, to that point, I think that the whole idea of that, Sasha helping, even though Bayley did nothing for her, I think, we as the audience are to assume, I think this is what they want us to assume, that Sasha is planting something in her head. She's planning something, but she's going to act like a friend for now.
Right.
So I think that's what they're going to go do. She's going to act all nice, and then all of a sudden, yeah.
I was happy to see a nice performance by Tamina, too. I thought she looked really good in this match for a while. You knew she wasn't going to win. You knew she was probably going to be the first one eliminated.
It was great that they all piled on top of her to pin her.
Right.
That was really a nice touch.
But, I mean, Tamina has kind of just hung around, and you never really think she's going to win a title. But it was nice for her to have a nice performance in that show. I like that a lot.
That was a decent match.
Yeah, I thought.
And actually, it came after the long last man standing match. I thought it was going to get shortchanged, but it was a decent length too.
Yeah, it was. I think we've kind of hit all of the matches. Well, we didn't talk about Elias and Corbin, but there's not really much to talk about.
I didn't really enjoy that very much.
I think that arguably was one of the more uninteresting matches.
No story. It felt like it was very weird. I just wasn't invested. The thing is, like, I've been kind of like out of touch with wrestling. That's why we don't do our podcast as much. I have a hard time investing, but like the things that got me invested night one, KO and Seth Rollins, I was like, oh, especially when he jumped off the sign. I was like, oh, I'm invested now. Then the Boneyard match, I was all in. I was like, okay, I'm excited now. And then I was a lot more jolly for night two. But yeah, I've been kind of down when we try to watch wrestling. It's just not the same for me for a lot of personal reasons and other reasons. I have a hard time getting invested sometimes when it's just random matchups. But when there's two people I care about, or at least one of the two, I'm like, yeah, this is great. And there's a good story behind it. That's even better. But another match that made me care recently, like a month ago, was B. Priestley versus Will Ospreay in that show we watched with no audience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That got me really hyped up. So a few wrestling matches and shows have got me a little hyped and out of the funk temporarily. I got to say, WrestleMania did a good job of that. At least the second half of night one and then beyond did a good job. But I do think we should talk about Big Show from tonight.
Well, we will. I was going to say, though, that should definitely be recommended viewing if you haven't watched it. Watch the B. Priestley.
It was the show. It was something like No Fans
Monday, I think.
No Fans Monday, yeah.
It was like one of the first nights of when we really were forced to stay at home. So I would watch that. I would be remiss if I didn't say watch the Edge documentary on WWE Network. If you haven't watched it yet, it was
one of the best ones they've ever done.
I think it is the best one they've ever done because it told such a great story. The build, he brought up some good things about surprises.
Him and his wife, the interaction.
Yeah, their interaction as she helped him get ready. The fact that they sent a ring up to where he lives in Asheville so he could train in secret. They brought in Dash Wilder. Dash Wilder.
It was that one?
Yes.
I can't remember which one now.
Zach Wilder is a guitarist that used to play with Ozzy Osbourne.
No, it's not him. It's not him.
No, just the story was so good. And he talked about, keeping a secret of him showing up at the Royal Rumble and how there are no secrets because of social media, because of everything else. The fact that they were able to pull it off and nobody knew. There were speculation, but there's always speculation about him or CM Punk or whatever.
We were supposed to be there. We were supposed to be at the Royal Rumble, but we didn't know what the Saints were doing. We thought we might have to work because he covers the Saints, since I kind of do. Nail
said she cried during the documentary. It really was.
It was good. But
touching and awesome.
It was awesome in every way. I just wish they would have touched on. So they have all this footage, at the Royal Rumble before and after he comes back out, his surprise return. But what I wish they would have kind of touched on more was that they both had a big night, him and Beth Phoenix, because Beth Phoenix had an awesome showing in her Rumble match. Her head was bleeding. She was in there for a long time. I kind of wish they would have touched on that a little bit more, that they both had such a great night and a great outing that night.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I wish they kind of would have gone into more. John's here. Hey, John.
Welcome, John. So, yeah, if you have not watched the documentary, again, to me, I've watched a lot of these WWE documentaries, and this one, to me, takes the cake on how well it was done. Following him around, he talks about that this documentary was going to be about his second act and being an actor. And then, things started to change, and it really was interesting.
You guys got to watch it if you haven't already seen it. I'm sure most people have, but, it's really good.
Big show tonight. Yeah, you wanted to bring that up. The whole weird thing, which again is another strange thing out of WrestleMania. If it had been a normal WrestleMania, McIntyre would have been on the stage. There would have been fireworks. That would have been the end of the show. Last night, there was nothing, basically him holding the belt at the end.
Yeah.
And then they taped something for tonight's show.
That would have never happened after WrestleMania, or usually.
Right.
He would have never came to the ring, and had an interview, and it was very odd. But Dave on Twitter said that it did what it was supposed to do. Well, he didn't mention this, but I'm sure part of it was to kind of bring Big Show back into the forefront of people's minds because he's got a new Netflix show coming out. But also, it was a surprise, Dave said, and also, I forgot what else he said. But he had two good reasons. And on top of that, I said the Netflix thing in my own head because I think that makes sense too. But I didn't really like it particularly. Even though it didn't completely not make sense, but I just didn't like it.
No, I mean, it was kind of weird knowing that it took place right after WrestleMania. It would have made sense on a regular Monday night, if he had just come out.
Next Monday night.
Yeah, even this Monday night, if it had clearly not happened after WrestleMania.
If they had not tried to play last night after the show, that was a little
And
weird.
I've always been a Big Show fan. He's one of those guys that's been a great soldier for the company.
He
gets guys over.
He actually does. Not a lot of old timers do that.
No.
Not a lot of long-term people actually take the loss.
So I guess the question is with Drew is what's next with him, because
to fill time was the other one. There he goes. That was the other reason Dave said that. That's true. It did. And to build up Drew, because he beats an established legend.
Right.
So, yes, that is true, Dave. All those reasons. I don't know. It just seemed weird what was happening after WrestleMania. And they were throwing to a video package of it instead of just having it happen tonight.
So, we'll see who Drew McIntyre is going to face next.
Or,
can't imagine Lesnar is going to be at the next show. So, I can't picture a rematch yet. So, it'll be interesting to see what direction they go there. I am looking forward to Wednesday night's NXT. Can't wait to see the final chapter of Gargano and Ciampa.
Yeah.
That's going to be spectacular. And then the 6-woman number 1 contenders ladder match will be awesome as well.
And so we talked about Bianca a little bit. Another thing from this Raw, Bianca kind of announced, I go here now.
Yep.
So she's on Raw now.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, but part of me is oh, please don't hurt her.
Don't waste her.
Don't waste her. Don't misuse her. She can be a champion. I could see her holding so many championships. I love her so much. Bianca's one of my favorites. I think she's one of the future people of the company. Please use her right.
What do we think?
Sandman, hey, thanks for joining us.
What do we think about Ricochet? He almost did it again. You almost reached back and knocked the drink over.
No.
What do we think about Ricochet and Cedric Alexander becoming a team?
They apparently teamed together before, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
I kind of like this because they're two high flyers if they let it go and let them be a tag team. Because Ricochet, let's be honest, has kind of disappeared from TV for the most part.
But he was built very well for a while. So I think this pairing elevates Cedric a little.
Yeah, I agree.
Brings him back to the forefront of things.
But it's funny because Ricochet really hasn't had much going on singles-wise on Raw. And it's funny because he's featured prominently on a Raw
documentary.
But no, also on a Raw commercial.
Oh, yeah.
There's a USA commercial where he's if it's Monday night, I must be defying gravity. Or
doing that weird flip in slow-mo. That was weird. I don't know. It's a strange commercial.
So it's just strange that he hadn't been on. So I like them as a tag team because anything to strengthen the tag team division. is fine with me.
Yeah, me too, because it's always been very thin. So, speaking of, I want to go back to a Shayna Baszler thing. Somebody's saying something about Charlotte and everyone's going to lose to Charlotte. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the whole roster is lost to Becky. Now Shayna's lost to Becky. And Shayna beat everybody, like tons of prominent people, in like no time at the last pay-per-view. And yet Becky makes short work of her in 8 minutes at Mania. More reasons that match should have been way longer. It just doesn't make logical sense in terms of Shayna had just beaten everybody, like destroyed them really. In what was that, Elimination Chamber? So it just doesn't make any sense. And then for Becky to just go destroy her, there's only a few people left. I mean, Shayna probably will re-challenge. Nia Jax will come out of the shadows, obviously, I'm thinking.
Bianca Belair.
And then Bianca Belair.
Yeah, so, and you still got Asuka there.
I feel like that chapter's closed for now. Not forever, but
so
for
at some
now.
point, Becky's going to have to lose so that we see some others where we see Asuka go against Nia Jax or whatever.
I mean, Ember Moon has said this so many times on Backstage. She's like, I love, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky, but there's so many other women who are not getting highlighted. Like, Ember Moon has said that so many times. She's like, I really wish other people would get a chance.
Yeah, well, she's pushed for Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
Which Dana Brooke, I think, was supposed to be in that SmackDown match.
She was. I think she got sick.
Yeah, so... again, that was such a weird WrestleMania because they had to pivot on several matches, which was weird. But, again, they put on a show. Look, Stephanie said it, McMahon said it at the beginning of the show, is about entertaining. Look, we don't have any live sports right now, hardly at all. So
people like you are dying.
Yeah, so whatever. This has been a brutal stretch.
I like movies. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, well, I like movies and TV as well, but I need some sports. And so, I'll keep watching Raw. I'll keep watching SmackDown, even if they're doing it in empty buildings, because it gives me something.
Yeah.
Something competitive seeming.
Yeah. Like I said, it did what it could do with the circumstances, and it did really well despite all the circumstances. So yeah, I say B- is fair with A+ matches sprinkled throughout.
Yep. So probably going to wrap things up here in the next few minutes, but if you guys have any questions or thoughts about anything, shoot those to us now. Overall, I will say I was pleasantly surprised by WrestleMania. One thing I will say, I was disappointed in the open.
Me too. I didn't like it.
The whole goofy, let's rewind, sarcastic voice. When they got into the actual open, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But the whole goofiness in the middle was...
it was supposed to be like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah,
and
I know.
He even said but he called reference to that. It was supposed to be like a Jack Sparrow spoof. I don't know. It was a little strange.
Somebody said the Impact had recorded a bunch of shows, so they're watching those. I heard Ring of Honor is doing Superstar, like they did a special on Jay Lethal.
Yeah, and they even have they had Matt Taven write. It's called Words of Honor. He wrote about his journey to the top of the mountain where he became champion. I haven't read it yet, but they did a whole press release of it today. I'm sure it's on their website, but that seemed like it would be interesting. Of course, it's nothing visual, but an interesting read that could be possibly. And lots of people putting out. Of course, AEW is putting out content, but we haven't been watching. But
yeah. Well.
Because of me, whatever, it's fine. Yes. I don't care if you blame me. I'm really not into the idea of watching it right now.
Yeah. Kelsey's kind of soured on AEW, to say the least.
Not because of the quality of matches or anything.
Now she's jumping from something bug. She thought was a bug.
It was a bug. I think I knocked it on the ground.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to actual wrestling and actual sporting events, but it is what it is. This is a horrible pandemic that is taken so many lives and affected so many people. I mean, somebody at your work who has now been diagnosed with it.
Not only diagnosed, I think he's in ICU now.
A very, very nice gentleman who you've known for a long time.
Yeah, years since, I think 5 years, 6 years he's been working with us, maybe even longer. His name's Mr. James. He's the custodian at our work. And I'm really sad that he's not doing well. We just found out this last night. They were still trying to make me go in and stuff. I don't even want to get into it because it's been one of the reasons why I've been stressing doing no content. Literally, I've been fighting tooth and nail to not have to go in. Mostly everyone's working from home, but a few people have been going in, and they kept trying to get me to go in every now and then for little things, even though I wasn't on the essential list. So to make a long story short, it's been one of my causes of stress. I'm happy to have a job, but then people like Mr. James gets hurt by this because he went in a lot. I mean, he might not have gotten it there, but it's just a bummer.
Yeah.
Poor Mr. James.
No,
such a good man.
You know,
this virus is terrible.
We're seeing some prominent people or semi-prominent people. The Prime Minister, obviously, of England, Boris Johnson. I was a little taken aback when the singer from Fountains of Wayne, a band I like a lot, died recently. So
the guitarist, I think.
Yeah,
or singer,
songwriter, backup singer.
Yeah, I mean, he won Emmys,
guitarist. Yeah.
He won Grammys. He won a lot. I think he even won an Oscar.
Yeah. So, I don't know about you guys. I don't know a lot of people personally that have it. One of my friends got it, but got it very minor. So, it's just such a weird time in this country. Very much like 9/11 when sports shut down, but sports shut down for like 10 days or whatever after 9/11. We're in a stretch now where
it's been way longer now, like a month now, right?
Yeah, well,
almost.
It was canceled before March Madness. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird and it is strange in New Orleans. I pointed this out. People are losing their mind from boredom at home. I've seen more people out going for walks than I've seen in my 11 years of living here. Like suddenly people are motivated to exercise because they're just losing their minds being at home, I guess.
I just don't see how people, I mean, I am losing more mind mostly about the idea of people getting sick. People that I care about or myself or whoever, not as much staying home. Like I could work from home every day. I like that. Like working from home, I really like it. It's been really like a lot better than dealing with some things at work. And I could watch TV all day. I don't know. The working from home part is not that bad. It's like summer vacation kind of, but what the bad part is worrying about everyone getting sick that you care about. That's the part. And hopefully all you guys are staying safe because it's just a bummer time.
Yeah. I mean, like pointed out here. Tonight would have been the national championship game.
And I'm really behind on my morning madness. It's based after the March Madness.
That's true. So. That's true. We hope everybody stays safe, be smart, take this seriously. I think the light at the end of the tunnel is kind of getting there. Hopefully. There's good news in New York that things have plateaued a little bit, hopefully. So just be careful out there. I mean, even today, we went to the bank and to get gas, and Kelsi
made you put
on gloves before I touched the ATM, and
I said put a glove on,
which I would not have thought of. So you got to be smart. So we hope you all are smart and not taking any sort of unnecessary risks.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys watching. It means a lot to us that you interact with us and hang with us. It's awesome because it'd be it'd be kind of boring if it was just you and me with nobody to interact with. I don't know. You're kind of fun. I'm okay with it just being me sometimes, but I'm glad we've got.
I am making the guarantee. She is going to put out videos this week.
The pressure's on.
Either another magnet video or cereal or both.
Or 3 videos if I get to the. I don't want to make promises.
No, let's get 1, but I'm hoping for 2.
I'm hoping for 2.
So make sure you
gotta stay motivated.
Subscribe to her channel if you don't already.
The channel you're watching right now.
Yes.
But yeah, more to come. It'll be the round 2 of the cereals. I'll reveal the poll results of all these cereals I pitted against each other. So there's some surprising results. There's some cereals that have been eliminated in the first round that it blows my mind. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you'll see. And then I'll show you what the round 2 matches will be. Even though it's going past when March Madness would have gone, I still think it's going to be fun content. It's still relevant.
Fun content.
Yes. Morning is good all year round. You don't have to just do it in March. So
that is true.
Whatever. And then my 90s kids movie stream, it's in the works. It's going to happen soon. And magnets, that's coming. I've got a lot more magnets to talk about and show that I haven't talked about yet.
I'd like to say I have anything.
I have to do the magnets soon because we have to take it down before we move.
I'm talking about I wish I had anything to promote, but I got nothing. In fact, I have not shaved since, and you can see how little I actually grow facial hair. I have not shaved in like 3 weeks. I think it's been
a month,
maybe a month.
It has
the last time I had to do an on-camera story was the day that the LSU baseball team found out that the season was going to be suspended.
Yeah.
And that's the last time I shaved. So, but you can see, like, people think this is intentional. I can't grow a beard even if I wanted to.
Just right there,
Yeah,
just like a weird
right
goatee.
there.
It's not on
It's
purpose.
not even a good goatee. Like, it doesn't even connect.
It doesn't.
It's awful. But
I don't mind it.
But I'm like, why waste money on shaving and shaving cream? Because who do I need to impress? I'm just looking at you, and
I'm just chopped liver, I guess.
You're not bothered by it, so it doesn't matter.
So it's fine. Whatevs. Anyway, speaking of another couple, Nail says her husband, Rob, is very anxious to find out about the cereal results. So we're going to make you and Rob happy.
You and me both. It's only... the first round was over like 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to try. I made all the graphics. I made the graphics at least.
Slacker.
I did that last week. So the graphics are made. Really cool looking graphics too. I spent a lot of time on them. So yeah, I'm going to try to do that video this week. So look out for that, Nails.
No try. Do.
Yoda.
Yes.
Yes.
There is no try.
Only do.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys watching. Take care. Stay safe out there, guys. Bye.